Legion Challenge League. Challenge Leagues are great. Okay, that's their normal spiel. Legion Challenge League, you will encounter monoliths. We know that. Shatter the magical bonds. Okay, discover new jewels. So you got to do a certain amount of damage to these things. So we've finally found that out. Let's see, what do we got here? Nothing too crazy. Major new content and features. Overhauled melee combat. Amongst many improvements, so now we know we got animation canceling. They added Steel Skin, Dash. Ooh, now we're gonna get some of the new names. Bladestorm, Blood and Sand. We know those. Berserk consumes your rage at an accelerated rate. While active, grants more damage. So I wonder how much that is. I guess they're gonna show the gems off later today. But while active, grants more damage, attack speed, movement speed, and causes you to take less damage. Ooh. That's interesting. So is that just less damage as a reduction? Or is that less damage from the actual negative of rage while you're hitting? That would be awesome if it's just you don't have to worry about the degen as much. Cannot be stopped once active and only stops when all rage is consumed. Ooh. That's kind of interesting. So we have so I'm guessing that's just more damage in the sense of the word. It just increases the effects more than just not like it actually grants a more multiplier. Maybe that's what it means. But if it is literally grants a more multiplier and then you take less damage, that would be pretty interesting. Okay, Frostblink. Ooh, deal cold damage in an area around your location, leaving chilled ground around you, then teleport to a target location. I wonder how far that is. That'd be pretty cool if that's essentially like lightning warp. Next one we have Precision. Oh, okay, so this is the... Isn't this the thing that was on that amulet? Reserves portion of mana and grants you and nearby allies accuracy and increased critical strike chance. That'd be pretty cool. That might be actually... If I'm doing blood magic, I might actually take that if I'm doing my crit build that uses blood magic. It'd be kind of cool. Flesh and Stone. Cast an aura that reserves a portion of your mana, causing nearby enemies to be maimed while in blood stance, and causes those enemies to take increased physical damage. Okay, so that's a more multiplier. While in sand stance, this aura causes nearby enemies to be blinded and causes enemies not affected by the aura to deal less damage. That's pretty cool. So sand being the more defensive and AoE, and blood being the more damage. Pretty cool dynamic with that. Added a new strength skill, Pride. Cast an aura and reserves a portion of your mana and causes nearby enemies to take more physical damage. Interesting. That's an interesting wording there because it says more instead of the just increase. Because take increased is a more multiplier anyway, so it's weird that it says more. Increasing the damage they take the longer they are affected by the aura. Okay, maybe that's why it says it like that. We got Perforate, Strength Dex skill. Strike the ground with your weapon, causing spears. Okay, so this is the one that we showed with the spears, and then Sand is AoE. Okay, Chain Hook. Attacks nearby enemies with a damaging shockwave. If used at a distance, releases a chain that draws you closer to the enemy. Generates 1 rage when you hit. Oh, that's kind of cool. Requires a one-handed sword, mace, or axe. So that has to be one-handed. Bummer. I kind of wanted to do a two-handed berserker, but if I want to take advantage of that one, I got to use one-handed weapons. Oh well, that'd be kind of interesting. We do have Parandus, so that gives me an idea. I can't remember the name of the weapon now, but yeah. Yeah, Veranustra, something like that, I think is what it is that comes from there. So that'll be cool. That might be an idea. Let's see. We got Pulverize, support melee attacks, causing them to deal more damage and with a greater area of effect, but with a slower attack speed. That is definitely an Earthquake skill. Maybe an Ice Crash. Ice Crash definitely has a decent AoE now. So Ice Crash, I don't know about a Ground Slam, but definitely Earthquake, maybe Ice Crash are the two that come to mind. Which now you can use Multi-Strike with Ice Crash, so I don't know if I'm going to use that on it or not. It depends on how much the more multiplier is and how much the AoE increases. Let's see, we got Rage. Supports melee attacks, causing you to gain 1 Rage when you hit an enemy with a supported skill. So if you use that support, can you gain Rage on anything? Okay, that's interesting. So Rage could be tripled on a Berserker, but if you can use a support and get Rage, then you can attack faster on pretty much anything as long as... Oh, wait. But Rage doesn't naturally have the negative of degen. Okay, so that's a thing. So if you can generate Rage on other things, you don't have the negative of degen anymore, so you could use Rage on literally anything. Ooh, that's juicy. Okay, we got Impel, support attack skills, grants you a chance to impel enemies, increasing the effect of impel caused by those attacks, and causes those attacks to deal more physical damage. Okay, that'll be kind of cool. That actually might be useful just in general. Definitely the impel skills will probably use that for sure. Shockwave, support melee skills trigger a shockwave skill on kill that deals attack damage in an area around the slain enemy. Restricts the use of supported skills to maces and stab. There was a miscommunication regarding the number of weapon-specific support gems when discussed on Bayclast earlier, and for chat, and for that we apologize. Okay, so this is mace and stabs. Is that it? Close combat, supported melee attacks causes them to deal more damage to enemies based on their proximity. Also causes supported skills to grant a buff on hit, which increases attack and cast speed. For the next travel skill you use, restricts the use to supported skills with axes and swords. And they're saying there was a miscommunication because they said literally each individual weapon had one. Okay, so they've only got maces and stabs and axes and swords, looks like. Then they added 12 new uniques, which are designed by a supporter. 14 new divination cards. 18 new sextant modifiers. Some of those were pretty nice looking. Get a Scarab was the one they showed off. Reworked 15 existing unique items. Can't wait to see some of those that we haven't seen. Added new keystones to the passive tree, visible only when you have the unique jewels. So that's pretty cool. We got 15 new ways to play, so that'll be pretty intense. Let's see. Moving on to minor content and features. Oops, passed it up a little bit. So minor content and features. Improve the early game experience. The first 3 acts. Tougher but more responsive. Okay, so they've just did the first 3. You can now queue skills by using one skill while another skill is in progress. And then you can cancel out of them with the new animation canceling, so that works really nicely. I can't wait to try to play around with that. So add a new functionality to the map stash tab, which displays which tiers and maps have Elder or Shaper influence, or an Atlas objective. That is such a quality of life. Love it. That was one of a friend of mine's biggest complaints, was that he always had to check which maps had Elder and Shaper influence, so he had to go back and forth and had to pay attention to it and micromanage that. So this will be a huge buff for having that tab. Kinda sad that it is just on the tab, because now you kinda really need that tab for that huge quality of life. So I guess at this point, instead of just saying, if I told somebody if you're gonna really play Path, you're gonna have to drop 20 bucks on it, I might have to say 30 or 40 now. Especially if you go on sale, it might be 30 or 40 just to get all the stuff to make it feel comfortable. But I mean, hey, I've definitely put in about that much on stash tabs and stuff, so fair enough. Good game. Like to support it. Oh, wish I could have supported more, to be honest. But yeah. Then they added Rage to the top left of the mana orb. That's pretty cool. So you can track that. Now, the one thing I want to track is the chieftain's ability to, when they get the more damage as, or extra damage as fire from physical. If they can add that, then yes, because I've been wanting that for so long. I've done 2 like chieftain builds with I think I just did Blade Vortex, and that's about it. I wanted to do Divine Ire or something like that, one of the new skills, just to go ahead and get that extra damage and convert the rest, and so it's all converted, and then try to get extra chaos and see how that works. But didn't get to do that yet. Maybe this league at some point, but I definitely want to get my melee out of the way and get that itch scratched. So added sounds to various error cases, such as attempting to equip an invalid item. Okay, that's kind of cool. Smooth transition between resolution while dynamic resolution is enabled. Changes to size of a character now occur smoothly. That's it's kind of going to be cool to watch. Just put on Rat's Nest and take it off. Improves the localization of server messages. Improved performance. Very cool. Okay, moving on. Melee rebalance. We've made massive sweeping, excuse the pun, I was going to say, is that a pun intended? Changes to melee combat. Many of these are specific to skills, but some are broad and affect all aspects of melee combat and combat in general. Like animation canceling also affects spells, which is really good. So, hit multiple enemies every attack, even Glacial Hammer, which is awesome. I'm probably going to do Glacial Hammer something. I have a feeling I'm going to have a lot of Abyssus characters, especially in softcore, and Glacial Hammer is probably going to be one of those. Maybe doing a Glacial Hammer champion or Jug is what I'm thinking, or even taking Glacial Hammer champion into hardcore and seeing how far I can get, or even Jug and just minus the Abyssus. Animation canceling is the next thing. Well, okay, I guess I'll go back real quick and continue just to see if there's anything extra. But previously, an attack would only hit the target in melee range. Now it chooses all of them that the attack physically passes through. Note that this effect is not area of effect, area damage, or melee splash. And that's another thing, when you actually throw on melee splash, it will actually cause any enemy hit in that area to have a splash effect. So the Glacial Hammer Jewel should give it a splash effect on its own, and that's just going to be insane. You get that splash not taking up a jewel slot. Glacial Hammer looking pretty good this league. Probably really safe, probably not the fastest, but definitely safe, and probably a really viable hardcore build. Definitely looking forward to that. Okay, animation canceling, really huge. So the way they showed it kind of sounded different than what it was described in the manifesto. If you use a skill, any skill, not just an attack, you can now interrupt the animation before it finishes playing. If you do so before the point in the animation that damage is dealt, or a projectile is created, etc., you will not deal damage. There's a small window before this point where you will be locked into the animation until the contact point. So you won't accidentally prevent yourself from dealing damage by being overzealous with your movement. You won't be able to use any other skill if you previously canceled an animation after the point it would deal damage until that animation would have finished playing, meaning you can't use animation canceling to artificially speed up your rate of attack. You can use a skill immediately after canceling a previous one if it didn't have a chance to deal damage or produce a projectile, etc. So the way they kind of showed it is he had an attack and then he showed another attack after it, that being just the base swing from a basic attack and double strike. And that looked like it was kind of like hit, 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 and was actually speeding up if you can alternate between. So, and that's kind of how it looked described. Now I could be wrong, but that's how I was expecting it to be. They've had it like this in other games. I've played games such as Elder Scrolls Online or another ARPG, Marvel Heroes, where this was the case and animation canceling is used to deal max damage, and stuff is actually balanced around that in both games, which sadly Marvel Heroes doesn't exist anymore, but yeah, they did balance it around that. So, directional attacks. This is cool. We shouldn't get stuck on anything anymore, and yeah, also they made stuff go through doors like Freeze Pulse. I know it's the Melee League, but I'm definitely playing either Freeze Pulse this league or next league for sure. It is on my list now to get a build done sometime. So, mini monsters now deal damage in a specific area in front of them when they attack, meaning you can avoid taking damage by sidestepping and moving away. Previously, monsters would deal damage to their target even if they had moved to the side, which I know that was a lot of issue with Zaro and his slash. I wonder if that's been balanced to not hit half the screen even though you're way out of the range. So we'll see how that changes. Attack signaling. We've improved a lot of enemy attacks. Attack signaling, slowing down the initial windup. So that's going to be really cool. They can put a lot stronger hits so that you have to evade, and you can get that nice twitch evade with the new skills and the new instant ability to cancel anything with traveling. Because travel skills, I don't know if they're going to say this later, but they do now prioritize over anything else unless you're stunned. So, targeting. We've made enormous improvements to targeting, result in a more natural, do what you want it to experience. That's funny. This is a culmination of many small user experience improvements. Attack range signaling. Players' attacks now accurately signal their damage range. Now I know a lot of people have been kind of saying that it could be a little screen cluttery, and I know they've talked about it. I'm kind of worried about that a little bit myself. Personally, I've gotten used to screen clutter from a lot of games, and I know a lot of games have tried to get rid of that, but yeah, for me it's not too bad right now, but I know a lot of people who definitely aren't used to it. It is a horrible experience, and I hope eventually they'll clean it up with by 4.0, hopefully. But hopefully we get some of that soon. Fluidity, we've made a lot of changes to how animations work, and just chaining attacks back to back. Hopefully they do make it look smoother. I know a lot of my friends that have seen me play say it just looks silly when you attack insanely fast. which was always one of the funny things about this game. I don't know why it feels so normal now, but yeah, when other people that don't play it see it, they're just like, what? What is going on? So yeah, that's hopefully they get that. I mean, I don't have really a strong opinion on it, but that's kind of cool that they're actually kind of bringing it in. As long as everything feels smooth and everything feels pretty playable, and we don't need that super crazy attack speed to make everything feel good, then yeah, I'm all for it. Accuracy, now you can get up to 100%, which is awesome. Let's see, an enemy will never be able to evade an attack, so you will no longer have to lone surviving monsters frustratingly taunting you. So that's going to be cool. I think, was it, they're blocking now, they take just a percentage. Well, actually here, blocking enemies. Enemies with the shields can block attacks, but only preventing a large portion of the damage. So there you go. Better feedback. New effects and sounds allow you to more clearly identify who you have and have not hit. Which, that was one big thing, is back in the day, was it desync or were you missing? Now that was a huge problem. But anyway, let's go to character balance. Melee damage is now treated as having dealt plus 25% damage for the sake of calculating stuns. Ooh, okay, that's pretty cool. So melee is just inherently better at stuns. Cool. Elemental and chaos damage is treated as having minus 25% damage. Ooh. This is in addition with the melee damage stun bonus. So a purely elemental or chaos or mixed non-physical melee hit sees no change to previous stun behavior. Okay, that's cool, I guess. As mentioned above, your chance to hit enemies with an attack, okay, is not capped. You're guaranteed to hit if you get 100. In light of the changes to melee combat, see above, the formula which turns accuracy rating into chance to hit has been changed. In general, it will be easier to hit and be hit. That's one of the big deals, is being hit. We're going to have to really pay attention to having enough defense for a lot of that. I really hope they add like a button or two that we can hit and get a lot of defense effects easy. But because right now we're kind of running out of buttons, and I know stuff like the PlayStation definitely is running out of buttons. If you go into Delve on the PlayStation, one of the issues there is if you're going to use your flares and dynamite, that takes up 2 skill slots out of your 8. There's no extra button to do that. So that was kind of a bummer finding that out. Anyway, let's see. Effects that split incoming damage from specific damage types across mana and life, such as Mind of the Council, now also do this for damage over time effects of specific types. That is pretty cool. So it's no longer hits. So does that mean Righteous Fire on the Chieftain? Because I think it says hits actually. But yeah, that's actually kind of interesting. If we can get reductions for, say, Death's Oath or Righteous Fire now that way, that'd be pretty cool. Okay. Projectile, oh well, unarmed range, unarmed attack range, or player characters is increased by 2. Well, that's kind of cool. Facebreaker buff, I'll take it. I definitely love the Facebreaker build. It's been a while since I've played it. Thought about maybe going back to Facebreaker Cyclone something. Let's see. Projectiles are now treated as having a smaller collision size with regards to terrain than monsters. This should alleviate the frustration of casting Freezing Pulse through a doorway, which is awesome. And they also are doing that with Spectral Shield Throw. So that's going to be cool. I might, like I showed there, my Spectral Shield Throw character that I did in Bestiary, I might go back to that because of how they're changing that. But we got to see the numbers to really get in it. So here we go. Skill reworks. This is the big numbers. This is what will determine pretty much what I play, I think. Okay, Cyclone, now a channeling skill, now costs 2 mana at all gym levels. That's pretty interesting. That's really cheap. Now deals base damage equal to and has an added damage effectiveness of 44% at gym level 1 from 45%. Okay, so it's going down by 2%. That's not really that bad. But now adds 10 to 15 physical damage, so that's a damage increase overall. And 56 to 85 at gym level 20. That's actually pretty nice. That'll definitely save that gap while leveling. I know sometimes just having 20 more damage would be nice, so just 10 to 15 at 1, that's pretty big. Again, you're getting it in Act 3, but yeah. Now gain stages as it is channeled up to a maximum of 3. So is this the AoE? At gyms 1, 6, and gym level 20, and loses stages every 0.2 seconds while not channeling. Now gains +1 melee range per stage. Okay, cool. Yep, that's it. Now has a attack speed multiplier of 300%. Previously had 50% more attack speed. That's wow. So I guess it depends on what weapon you're using, but for dual wield, that should be pretty insane. Modifiers to melee attack range now also apply to this skill's area radius. Yeah, that's going to be pretty legit, and the AoE from Slayer will get pretty out of hand, I think. It'll be pretty silly. Maybe I'll do Facebreaker, Slayer, Cyclone. That'll be fun. Anyway, Lacerate. Here we go. This one's a cool one. Try to Lacerate a few times on different things. Try to bleed Lacerator once. I think that was actually the next league after I did my Spectral Shield Throw bleed. Slashes the air twice, dealing damage in 2 overlapping area effects, with the possibility that enemies in the overlapping area will be hit by both. Now it has a different behavior depending on whether you are in Sand Stance or Blood Stance. Okay, cool. So you're in Blood Stance by default. While in Blood Stance, now has a 25% chance to cause bleeding, and causes you to deal 50% more damage with bleeding at gym level 1 and 88% more. Woo, that's pretty juicy. At gym level 20. Okay, so this one looks good for maybe the bleed build instead of Spectral Shield Throw, because I might do one or the other. So let's see. While in Sand Stance, though, now increases the width of the slash area of effect by 50%. Now deals damage based damage equal to and has. Let me try that again. Now deals base damage equal to and has an added damage effectiveness of 100%. It's pretty good. That's a definite increase, and up to 123% at level 20 from 74. That's pretty nice. And then we also get the added physical, and then 75 to 113 at 20, which is huge for bleed damage. That's pretty insane. And now has an attack speed multiplier of 60%. Okay, so let's see. They did. So I guess it slowed down a little bit more, but has went up. So your total hit for bleed, because you just want higher damage for bleed. So, you know, having an axe that can swing really fast doesn't give you more bleed, really. It does stack Blood Dance or whatever the stacking bleed node is, but you want higher damage for the big bleeds, and I think this is really gonna. That's 75 to 113 is just gonna be huge for that. Lacerate now is, I think, I mean, depending on what Sunder does, depending on what they do with Sunder, Lacerate I think definitely is beating Sunder so far, and just straight bleed damage. So Mortal Call, we got to pretty much see what this does. Let's see. Base duration now is 1 second at all gym levels. That's pretty cool. So increased duration on that would be nice. We've already seen what it increases, but here we go. 5, causing you to take 15% less physical damage per endurance charge. So if you have 5, that's 75. Yeah, that's 100% less physical. So it's still 100% less physical, but we also get that added elemental damage reduction, which is pretty nice. Less damage from elemental damage, rather. So 34%. Okay, it's pretty good. Increases the duration, and also where it's up to 5, that means you still have some endurance charges if you're really stacking the endurance charges on, say, a Juggernaut or even Chieftain now. Increases the duration of the buff by 20% for each endurance charge consumed. Now has a 3-second cooldown, which does not recover during its effect. Ooh. Okay, that's a big deal. So you get it for... Oh yeah, and you can get up to 100% increased duration if you consume 5. 20% per charge. And it shares the cooldown with other guard skills, Steel Skin and Molten Shell. But yeah, that cooldown is a decently big deal. Okay, Molten Shell now has a base duration of 3 seconds. 50 additional armor, granted at level 1, 850 at 20. So that has been reduced at 20 but increased at 1. Now creates a buff that can take damage equal to 20% of your armor. Now causes 75% of damage from hits to be taken from the buff before your life. So this is just straight up hits or energy shield. I mean, I guess that was kind of pretty much how it worked before. Now reflects 100% of damage taken from the buff as fire damage. Okay, that's pretty cool. The buff expires or is depleted at gym level 1 up to 1050%. Whoa. That's pretty cool. What if we're going to get like a block reflect damage build again? That'd be pretty intense. Like, isn't that shield reflects like 1,000 physical damage or something like that? Then you combine it with that, and then you could just do the counter skills. That'd be funny if we get one of those builds. AFK on Shaper or something. That'd be legit. Okay, shield charge. Here we go. This is one I've been curious about and wanting to know exactly what the numbers are. They said it was pretty much just like Spectral Shield Throw, but is it the exact numbers or what? Okay, so here we go. Bashes when used against targets at close range. Okay, now can't be used with wands. There we go. We got it. We finally got it. Now deals damage base damage. Yeah, why do I say that backwards? Now deals base damage equal to and has a added damage effectiveness of 100% from 50, remaining the same through gym level 20. So okay, it's just 100% at all levels. I guess would have, yeah, same thing. Okay. Now it has 75% increased stun threshold reduction on enemies at maximum charge distance from 50%. So with melee, that's pretty much a guaranteed stun at max distance, essentially. Cool. Now deals 150% more damage with hits at maximum charge distance from 200%. Okay, so that's a little bit of a decrease, but they're probably going to have added damage, so that probably will balance out. Now grants 90% increased movement speed during the attack at gym level 1. So that's increased, and 109%, which is also increased. Cool. Now has a mana cost of 10 from 8. Okay, so that's definitely increased there. I think that it hurts supports a little bit. I'm pretty sure supports would take the -8 ring. Can we still get -8 on craft? Or does it go up to 10 actually? I can't remember what the minus is. I'll have to look that one up. But if we can actually minus that off on ring still, then I guess that's probably like an X to do it. But yeah, for supports that'll be worth it. Now gains 1% increased movement speed per 1% gem quality. Previously it was 1% increased damage. Okay, that's cool. Now deals damage based on your equipped shield, not your weapon. And here's how it does it. There we go. These are the numbers I was wanting. Base damage of critical strike chance is 5%. Adds 0.1% to critical strike chance per 10 maximum energy shield. Okay. 11 to 10 base offhand physical damage at gym level 1 up to 132 to 198. Okay, so that's the just base damage. Adds 2 physical damage, 2 to 3 physical damage per 15 armor or evasion rating on shield. Based offhand attack time is 0.53 seconds and goes to 0.48 seconds. Real quick, just kind of going to compare that. 5 crit, base 103 to 155. That's what I got right now. 2 to 3, and looks like it has the same attack rate. Cool. So that is pretty much exactly Spectral Shield throw stats. I'm guessing that it will be the same number. I didn't have it fully leveled up on mine, but cool, looks good. Skill balance. Let's see here. Get a drink. Okay. Skill balance. Physical is now a skill type and will now appear on the appropriate gem as a tag. It's interesting. Strike is now a skill type that will appear on items which do not have an area of effect but can still hit multiple targets. Essentially all the previous single target skills now have this tag. Okay, cool. Some supports such as melee splash support can now support. Okay, cool. That's what that is. Blink is a skill type that appears on Frostblink, Flame Dash, and Dash. Okay. Guard is also a skill type and appears on Immortal Call, Steel Skin, and Molten Shell. So I wonder if we'll have anything that actually supports Guard right now. I don't think that was in the gym list, so I guess that'll be something that'll come later, or might be on items. That would be kind of cool. Let's see. All melee skills now have an attack speed multiplier built in to the gem. This is functionally identical to the effect of the more attack speed or less attack speed stat lines that were previously on some gems. Okay, makes sense. The following skills are now considered travel skills and have travel tag: Blink Arrow, Body Swap, Flame Dash, Leap Slam, Lightning Warp, Phase Run, Shield Charge, Smoke Mine, Vol Lightning Warp. Wait, is it Vol Lightning? Okay, well I guess Vol Lightning Warp would be in standard, I guess. Whirling Blades. The following skills are now considered guard skills and have a shared cooldown: Immortal Call, Molten Shell, and Steel Skin. Okay, we already know that. All melee attacks now apply a visual to your weapon as you swing to better illustrate your attack. Again, might get a little screen cluttery from certain. Well, if your AoE gets high enough with like double strike, that'll probably look silly. Most, if not all, attacks and spells also now accurately signal their area of effect, including any increases or reductions. Minion targeting is now less weird if using a movement skill while also channeling. Okay, so I guess that would be... Oh, okay, so they didn't have charge dash in that. Cool. Even though it's a movement skill, it's not a travel skill. Which, I mean, I guess technically you travel there essentially instantly, so fair enough. Okay, specific skills. Quite a few skills have had their base attack speed lowered slightly and base damage raised. Okay, here we go. Now I'm hoping to see what Sunder does for the bleed craziness. What else? Well, I just see double strike down there. That'll be interesting to see. Kind of curious about Flicker Strike And yeah, I guess we'll have to. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Oh well, we'll see what they got. We'll see what they got. Here we go. So, what the damage numbers have changed. Ancestral Protector, base damage equal to and has an added damage effectiveness of 90%. So that went up to 144 from 133. Cool. War Chief, we're going 110 from 100 and 133 from 123. That's pretty good. Huh. So I mean, I guess that's essentially the same. So Bane now deals 45.7 base damage for base chaos damage. So that went down a bit, and ooh, that's a pretty big hit to Bane. I mean, I was using Bane in the mix with everything, so if you're still going to use it in the mix, I guess it's still really good, but kind of a decent hit. You can't just clear, I guess, with it by itself. So I'm curious if they added any area to Blade Flurry, or if they nerfed it. Now deals base damage equal to, and has an added damage effectiveness of 32% from 45. Okay, up to 45 from 56. But they are adding Flat Fizz to it, so that might make up for it. So that could actually be a buff. This is a buff. Now has 29% larger target acquiring radius while channeling, and 47% larger target acquiring radius after channeling. Ooh, I might be going back to Blade Flurry. It might feel good to clear with again. That'd be cool. I could dig it. Okay, what do we got now? Cleave. Cleave now deals base damage equal to and has added damage effectiveness of 125. So that's buffed 15%. And at level 20, we got a 7% increase to 170. Now adds 2 to 3 physical damage to attacks and at gym level 1, and 75 to 113 at 20. So I guess, I wonder if that number is just going to be consistent. Now we got Charge Dash. Let's see, it went up by 20%, so that's pretty cool. I might have to relook at doing my Charge Dash build. Yeah, I did Cyclone, Charge Dash, and Blade Flurry, so might have to look at that again. They are nerfing Abyssals though, so that build will take a bit of a hit, but having that 25% base damage increase will be pretty nice. And at level 20, what is that, 28? No, 18. There we go. Math is hard. Calculus is easy. Now has an attack speed multiplier of 160 rather than 60% more attack speed. Okay. It's essentially the same thing. Consecrated Path. Haven't gotten to this skill yet. It's kind of like the controlled version of Flicker Strike. Thinking about maybe trying it. If I do my Flicker Strike build, I might hop to this just to see how it feels. Added damage effectiveness of 150, so that went up by 30%. And then at 20, looks like we're getting a 27% increase and attack speed multiplier of 80%. So I don't know if that's lower than what it was. I'm guessing it is. So I don't know how much of a buff that really is overall. So I guess we're gonna have to see how these work out. I guess it's a slight buff, if anything. Dominating Blow. This one I kind of hope actually gets a pretty big buff, but we'll see. 165% from 140. 190 from 172. Now causes minions to deal 1% increased damage per 1% gem quality. So that went up from 0.5. Double Strike. Now I'm curious to see if this actually gets nerfed. If not, this is going to be a really good league starter and a really solid choice. And has added damage effectiveness of 91. So that's 21% up. And at 20, which is the big one to look at, is 112, so that is 6, that's 18%. Yeah, it's pretty good. Now, if it has the 80% attack speed multiplier, which they are, from what I understand, buffing one-handed weapons, essentially most of them that you would use with this. So overall, that should be about the same or positive damage increase just from the attack speed. And now has a 25% chance to cause bleed. So I guess you really don't even have to have the bleed damage, but it already has added damage, so really the only thing that increased, I guess, would be the percentage a little bit. So I mean, double strike is already strong. It should be able to carry you all the way through. It's got a good single target, it's got decent AoE, and you just have to swap out a couple of gems. That's probably a really good league starter. But next is Dual Strike, the kind of what became the lesser version of Double Strike. So pretty much because there's also Vol Double Strike, which is huge. So we'll see what happens with Dual Strike here. I'm kind of hoping it gets a significant buff. Kind of like Cleave, I'm guessing it'll probably have the same because it does use both of your weapons. But let's see here. I see something with crit there. So we got 125. I think that's the same number essentially as Cleave, and 170. Yeah, so they did the same thing there with Cleave. Only the thing is, before it was 104, where Cleave actually had 163. So brought it in line with Cleave. Really good damage here with Dual Strike. Now it has 50% increased critical strike chance at gem level 1, up to 107. So Dual Strike now is a huge crit. Now has 100% more crit strike chance against enemies that are on full life. Okay, so that's the first hit thing. You get clear 30% more damage while hits or with hits and elements against enemies on full life. Now has an attack speed multiplier of 70%. Now gains 0.5 to critical strike multiplier and 1% increased critical strike chance per 1% quality. That is insane. I mean, what am I gonna... I mean, that's like... Wow. That's pretty good. I don't think there's too many skills that have an actual more multiplier to quality. That's pretty legit. Okay, Earthquake. Let's see what they did here. Come on, give me some buffs. Damage effectiveness went down by 5%, but went up, okay, by 11% at 20. Aftershocks now benefit from 30 to 46. So this is only to Aftershocks, but the high end here, 169 to 254, that is pretty juicy. Attack speed multiplier of 75%, which, I mean, it already hits pretty slow, and then even with the helmet and the less duration, if you build it that way, it's pretty much when you hit it, it'll explode at that point. So slowing down the attack if they increase the damage enough, that's still really good. Radius of Aftershock is now +2 units larger, and now gains 1% increased damage per 1% gem quality. So I think this one's going to be on my list to try at some point. Either maybe doing a Slayer again, maybe doing a Juggernaut, but I definitely kind of want to try it. Now, Flicker Strike. Here's one that I'm planning on probably doing just because it's going to be a faster build, and if the damage is high enough, then yeah, we're definitely going to go for it. And I'm seeing a lot of stuff now grants. Let's see what they did. Base damage 142 from 130 up to 168, so 8% at the top end is going to be the only thing that's really going to be advantage to this right now. 50% chance to gain a frenzy charge on hit at all levels. Whoa, that is insane. Now my question is it gonna start using a frenzy charge with every hit? Let's see. Now grants a buff that provides 20% increased movement speed for 3 seconds, but that's just kind of funny because you're typically never moving unless you're moving in between. Like, I do not plan to use movement speed boots with that. Now has an attack speed multiplier of 120% rather than 20% more attack speed. Okay, so that's the same thing. That's awesome. Now grants 0.25 chance to gain a frenzy charge on hit with 1 quality rather than just 1% increased. So we got 20, so that's a 5%. That is pretty nice. So we get 5% for 20% total chance just on hit. So if multi-strike still works and it doesn't just use a charge each time, that's insane. Like, we probably don't even need to use Frenzy anymore, which I plan to throw Frenzy in the build, and I still might yet, but we'll see. We'll see. This is looking good. I'm pretty hyped here. So Frenzy now deals base damage equal to and has an added damage effectiveness of 115%. That's 5% increase, and 135. That's actually a 1% decrease on max level, but now deals 5% more attack damage per frenzy charge. Previously 5% increase, so that's huge, and 5% more attack speed. Oh man, Frenzy now is its own thing. Look at that. That's legit. Okay, we can just use Frenzy now. So I think this answers. So this will generate frenzy charges for anything, and it's actually really good. So how do you generate the endurance charges for the Slayer? I mean, that's pretty big. You can go to the right side, take the crit nodes if you want, do a lot with frenzy, get all the frenzy charges, and then you have what, 7 frenzy and 7 endurance. That's pretty big. That'd be kind of cool if you could generate both pretty quickly. Do a frenzy, boom, you get all your frenzy charges, get your endurance charges, discharge it off. I don't know, something. That'd be kind of interesting to do some crazy, especially with the more attack speed. That'd be really quick to generate, but I just don't know how to generate unless you did like a stun build and then endurance charge or melee stun or something like that. Yeah, something like that. Okay, Glacial Hammer, here we go. This is another skill, like I said, that I really want to look at. So damage effectiveness is going up by 15 at 1, up to 200% effectiveness, so that's 18% increase there. That's pretty nice. Plus 2 melee range at gym level 1 and plus 4 at 20. That's good. Converts 60% of physical damage to cold from 50. So now you can just take the 40% on the tree to convert all of it if you wanted to. Now adds 2 to 3 cold damage to attacks, which actually, on the note of the conversion, I think you can just take the threshold jewels and do that anyway, even when it was at 50%. So I don't know, but I guess, are those strength jewels, I'm thinking? So I guess if you're not on that side, you can just, if you're on the deck side, you can just take it that way. Maybe that was the thought there. Okay. 2 to 3 cold damage to attacks. See, I was really worried that some of these converted attacks would actually add physical damage, but if you're going to convert them all anyway, then you're fine. But if it just gives flat cold anyway, then you don't have to worry about having to convert all of it if you don't want to. But this way, it's deals with reflect. That's pretty cool. Now, here's the cool part. Every third successive strike now freezes enemies as if it were dealing 200% more damage at gym level 1 and 390% at gym level 20. So now you can freeze bosses with Glacial Hammer. That is insane. I want to see some like Shaper freezing and Uber Elder freezing. Let's go. Let's get it. That'd be crazy. Like, because they got rid of did they get rid of all the immunities, right? So, yeah, if you can still do that, that is insane. Ground Slam. Here we go. Ground Slam. I was talking about doing a Ground Slam Berserker, so we'll see. Level 20 is unchanged, but level 1 is actually 95%. But since they're adding the damage, that should easily outweigh that. 2 to 3 at level 1, 75 to again 113. I guess that's their decided balanced number all through them. We'll see how that works with all skills, but now has an attack speed multiplier of 90%, so I'm guessing that is going down. But with the damage, it should actually be an overall damage increase. Now gains 1% increased stun duration on enemies and 0.5% increased area effect, which was 1.5% stun duration just total. So they just took the 0.5 and gave that to area of effect. So that's okay, I guess. 20% stun duration instead of 25, and instead of 30, and just 10% area of effect. That's pretty nice, actually. Take area effect on that skill. I really don't use it much for the stun, so I guess really that's if you get a 20% Vol Ground Slam is where that's more useful, which can actually stun anybody, which is pretty legit. Heavy Strike. This one's going to be interesting to see what kind of crazy damage we get and some people playing these, especially the double damage craziness. So now deals damage equal to and has a base damage effectiveness of 176, so that's up 26%. But at level 20, we got, what is that? 28? Yes, 28%. Now has +2 melee range and 4, so that seems to be a consistent thing for these, a lot of these just immediate melee attacks without any normal AoE. Now has 20% chance to deal double damage at all gym levels. Ooh, that's cool. Now has an attack speed of 85. Okay, so I guess that kind of balances out the double damage effect, which is still an overall damage increase. Previously only gained stun increased duration, but now it's 1% to stun increased duration and 1% increased damage. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Herald of Agony now causes Agony Crawler to deal 6% increased damage, physical damage per virulence you have at level 1 from 10%, so that's a 4% decrease and a 7% decrease at level 20. That's honestly a smaller nerf than what I was expecting. I was expecting a whole lot bigger, like, decrease in numbers there. That's a lot more lenient. So, okay, cool. Herald of Agony, you'll probably have to spec for some damage for it, but probably not all that much. So, I mean, with the way they're scaling rare monster health now, doubling it essentially, that's going to be cool. So, moving on now, we got Ice Crash. One of my favorite skills to play. May go back to a Ice Crash Slayer at some point and try that. With how it works now, I might do crit, but I might not. We'll find out. Because it's so easy to hit accuracy now. I probably won't use, was it Congors like I did last time? But we'll see. 190% at gym level 1, up to 240% at gym level 20. So that's 32% increase on the top end. It's pretty nice. Area is now 20% larger. That is awesome. It was already getting big enough, but now it's kind of like Earthquake levels of AoE, I think. So that'll be nice. A huge amount of cold damage, 30 to 46 at level 1, and 169 to 254 at level 20. So pretty much the same thing as Earthquake, so that's going to be cool. The big thing here, I believe, is Earthquake usable, I think, only with, is it two-handed, maybe? I could be wrong there. But I can't remember if Earthquake can be used with one-handed. But Ice Crash, you can punch the ground, so that's a decent bit of damage just for something like Face Breakers, or even that whatever the breath mace, whatever that is, the ice mace that deals double damage on shield enemies. So that'll be pretty legit for that. That build is going to get stronger. That's probably a good league starter as well. That'll be very safe, good defense, getting a lot of cold, chilling a lot of enemies. Infernal Blow, another one of my skills, something I've used, or something I used back in the early days. Hopefully it goes up. I'm just seeing a 4% from 100% increase there, and 10% at the top end, 133 total now. But they do the same 75 to 113 fire damage, and 5 to 8 at level 1. Lancing Steel can no longer hit close range enemies multiple times with a single attack. Okay, wait. That's the Lancing one. That's not the one that's kind of fans out in front of you, right? Now deals base damage equal to and has an added damage effectiveness of 130. So that's a pretty big buff there. That's literally double. And well, no, a little more than double at 175% at level 20. But again, you can't hit close range enemies multiple times. So I wonder if that's like they're at a far enough range. Is that what that means? You can still hit them multiple times. And that's 20 to 30 physical damage at level 1, 113 to 169 at level 20. That should help out that skill a lot. So I'd be curious to see what we get coming out of that skill. So that one should be pretty legit. Now has 30% chance for a non-primary projectile to impale enemies on hit. Now it has an attack speed multiplier of 80%. Now gains 0.5% chance to impale an enemy on hit per 1% gem level. Okay, so that's combined with the new impale support. Should be pretty nice. Leap Slam now deals damage 100% unchanged, but it goes down by 3% at level 20. Now always knocks enemies back on hit. Now always causes your damaging hits to stun enemies that are on full life, which that's really nice. You can jump in a packed endurance charge or melee stun now reliably for that first hit. So clearing maps, you can easily get endurance charges. Now has 20% increased stun duration on enemies at full life, up to 39% at gem level 20. Now costs 10 mana from 15, so that's actually a decrease in mana cost. That's cool. Now gains 1% increased stun duration on enemies per quality. Lightning Strike now deals base damage equal to and has an added damage effectiveness of 135. So that's up by 5% and up by 4% at level 20 for 180. 1 to 13 lightning damage to attacks, and that goes up to 9 to 179, keeping that lightning damage type being a broad range, so that's kind of cool. But again, it's adding the lightning damage, so that's a nice little flat scaling to get. I know a friend of mine, I bet, will probably be playing this. Now gains 1% increased projectile speed and 1% increased damage per 1% gem level quality. Sorry. Molten Strike, 120 unchanged, and goes down by 30% at max level. Let's see. Projectiles now deal 50% less damage at all levels instead of 40%. So that's a bit of a nerf. Adds 2 to 3 fire damage and up to the 75 to 113. Now requires that you hit an enemy in order to produce projectiles, and splits the number of projectiles it produces evenly among all targets if it can. I don't know how I feel about that one. So you can't do the cheese where you're standing next to it, which I know people were kind of curious if that could still happen, but that is a nope. Let's see. Does that mean... No, okay. Let's see, we got as +2 melee range to +6, well that's kind of cool. Damage over time from projectiles now deals 50% less damage. Okay. So poison got nerfed as well. Molten Strike, kind of a nerf overall here. I don't know. We'll have to see. I mean, it's still probably going to be strong, but definitely feeling a nerf. So next we'll move on to Puncture. Puncture now deals base damage equal to and has an added damage effectiveness of 135. This is increased from 100. So that's 35% increase. And then at level 20 though, big number to pay attention to, 42% increase there, so giving you 165. They're doing the same scaling, 3 to 4, and then 75 to 113. Now deals more damage with bleed at gym level 1 to 49% more damage at gym level 20, which that's awesome. So I wonder if we're actually going to have a good Puncture bow build coming back from this. That'll be pretty cool to see happen. So that's something I might look into. I guess I could do Gladiator Rear Guard, maybe? Something like that. We'll see. But I did like the Puncture bleed stuff. That was a lot of fun. Definitely can kind of pull it back now. So that's going to be cool. Reeve now deals base damage equal to and has a added damage effectiveness of 135%. Up to 155 at level 20. This is both increased. That is a, was it 20? No, 17% increase at level 20. Base skill radius is 2 units larger, and now gains +2 radius at 20 from +4. So I guess they just went ahead and just gave it base extra, and then when you pretty much unchanged essentially at 20, right? Yeah, that's what that. Yeah, that makes sense. Now loses stages incrementally after a short period without hitting anything rather than all at once. Okay, that's kind of cool. I think it's really needed that, and now that you can put Vol Reeve into it at the same time, that makes that a whole lot better. Let's see, Reckoning now deals base damage equal to 91%. That's 21% increase at level 1 and a 32% increase at level 20, giving it a total of 140. So that's pretty cool, and they added a huge amount of damage to the same equivalent of Earthquake 169 to 254. Riposte, same deal. Looks like we got 135 from 100 and 186 from 138. Pretty big damage increase there, and also giving the added damage of about the same. Shattering Steel, okay, deals damage 5% increase from 40 and 50 from 49, so barely anything at the top, but it's getting the base damage scaling of 113 to 169, and now has an attack speed multiplier of 80%. Shock Nova. Ring now deals 50% less damage from 80%. Okay, so that's a cool buff. Ring is now closer to the... Wait. The ring is now closer to the center of the Nova. Cool. Smite. Okay, what are they doing to Smite? Just looks like a huge damage effectiveness at level 1. 196 up from 135, and 218 up from 165 at 20. That's pretty big. So I've seen Smite do some good things. Now, yeah, that's pretty intense. So they did the same thing they kind of did with Reeve. 2 larger, +4 radius at 20 from 6. 85% attack speed multiplier. So, okay, that kind of makes sense that they did such a huge buff on the effectiveness then. Soul Rend. Projectile now has a radius of 10 from 13. Guess that's really it. Okay, again, I was expecting more from the nerfs to like Soul Rend and Bane and stuff like that, but that's really not that bad. It made it sound like they were going to cripple them. I guess we'll have to see what Stormbrand and Winter Orb get. We're in the S's, so we're close. Spectral Shield Throw. Here we go. Here we go, my boy right here. Okay, 18 to 27, 182 to 272 at gym level 20. That is increased already. So it actually is increased over what Shield Charge does, so that's cool. Now fires more projectiles on Shield Impact as the skill levels up. 13 from 8. at level 20. That's pretty cool. Now has a base offhand attack time of 0.7 at gym level 1. So that takes a little bit longer. 0.04 seconds longer though at 20 from what it was. So that's not too bad. Spectral shield throw. Or sorry, spectral throw. Base damage equal to and has an added damage effectiveness of 80%. Up from 54, that's not bad. And 10% though at the high end with 100%. So I wonder now, is it actually better to use it than just the base attack when you start a Scion? Probably. That sounds a whole lot better. Okay, Static Strike. We got 107, so that's 7% from the 100, and 160 from 146. That's a 14 overall. Now chains an additional time at all gym levels. That's cool. Stormbrand, here we go. Has a cast time of 0.75 from 0.65. Now activates at 0.6. I was expecting like 0.7 or 0.8 from 0.5, but it's just 0.6. Not as bad as what I thought. Still probably just as good at clearing and leveling, unless they do something else here. Multiple Stormbrands can no longer shotgun. Ooh. Oh. Well, that's a thing. Smaller based area of effect. 10% smaller base area of effect for dealing damage. Now deals 3 to 8 lightning damage at levels 1. So that's a barely increase. And 92 to 277. Okay, so it got more damage to single target, less to AoE. I guess that's to compensate for the increased health. And now 80% more damage to the branded enemy, up to 130 more damage from 50% more at all gym levels. Okay, so that's huge for single target. So it got buffed for single target and nerfed for clearing. I mean, with how they work, it's still pretty good. Yeah, I mean, that's still really solid. Sunder, here we go. Now what do we got here? 175 from 140%. That's 35%. And 220 from 182. So that's, what is that, a 38? That's pretty good. Now has an effective length of 60 units from 48. That's an increase. That's cool. Now has an attack speed multiplier of 75%. Previously had 15% less, so that's another 10% less, essentially. Sweep. I'm hoping this is a pretty big one. 170 from 100 up to 225 from 138. That's actually a huge amount there. That's over 70. That's like 90%. Or well, I guess that's 87%. That's pretty good. Seems legit. Then we've got 5 to 8 physical damage to attacks at gym level 1, up to 75 to 113 at gym level 20. Now, always knocks enemies back on hit from 30% chance. So that's pretty cool. If you're always knocking back, then you get the what is it, the hegemonies? It's a buff. Oh man, there you go. That's pretty legit now. Now has an attack speed multiplier of 70%. So that actually went down by 30%. So I guess not that much of an increase overall is what I just said, but still definitely going to give you more damage than what it had. Tectonic Slam. I'm actually looking for some kind of nerf here. Let's see. And has an added damage of 170 from 130, so that's a buff. The multiplier 80%, so that definitely went down. But you're already attacking fast enough normally with builds that you're playing this anyway. So 40% at the level 20, The length of the primary fissure is now 36 from 32. That's an increase. The length of secondary fissures is now 15 from 22. And the width of the first secondary fissure is now 7 from 8. So I guess this is a little bit of a nerf, but from the trailer video that they showed, it still looked about the same. So overall, I guess this is a buff. Vengeance. Here we go. Probably receiving the same treatment. Yep, damage, base damage of 169 to 250. 135 from 75 and 203 from 113. That's pretty huge. I guess that whole counter skill thing with Gladiator might be a pretty good deal to use. Looks like they're pushing those skills to actually work really well with this. So, might be something to try. Vigilant Strike. 220 from 165, or sorry, 222 from 165, and at level 20, 260 from 203. They up the melee and from +2 to +4 at Jim's level 20. Now has an attack speed multiplier of 85%. So at the top end, not as much of an increase, but still overall better, of course. Viper Strike. Here's one that I kind of want to try at some point if I can make it work. Maybe do a Viper Strike Assassin. Let's see. We got 80% effectiveness from 115. That is lower. That's not what I like to hear. And 130 from 142. Well, slight decrease at the top end. Now converts 50% of physical damage to chaos from 25%, and I guess if you can get more chaos conversion, is it possible to get essentially reflect immune? That would be interesting. Now adds 5 to 7 chaos damage to attacks and 169 to 254 at gym levels 20. That's like having an added chaos on that thing essentially. That's pretty legit. Now gains 0.5% increased attack speed and 0.5 poison duration. There we go. And pretty much they just added the poison duration per one quality. War Banner, let's see, I'm betting this is a nerf. Oh, okay, this is for the accuracy. 15 increased accuracy from 40 up to 21 at 20. Okay, fair enough. I definitely planned on using that on pretty much everything. Warlord's Mark. Now you leech life and mana from cursed from attacks only. Feels bad, man. This is a pretty sad day with Warlord's Mark. So, Whirling Blades now deals base damage equal to and has an added damage effectiveness of 100%. So that goes up from 80%, so that's 20%. I really don't feel like we're going to see any Whirling Blades only builds, but I guess a little damage buff, cool. Wild Strike. This is one that's kind of cool. I might try to do something with this at some point. So damage effectiveness of 160 up from 130, and 185 up from 176. I guess they're not doing anything with the attack speed there on that one, so it's pretty legit. Now Winter Orb, let's see how bad of a nerf this is. Let's see if this is a big oof. Deals 30 to 37 cold damage from 25 to 31, so that's up. 232, that's the same. 291, so that's up barely by 2 damage on the top end. Base duration is now 1.2 seconds from 0 base duration. Building solely on stages. Okay. So now states that increases and reductions to cast speed now apply to projectile frequency. Actual behavior is unchanged. Okay, so same thing, cool. Now it has a 20% reduction target acquisition range. That's kind of a bummer. Now fires projectiles every 1.6 seconds from every 0.8. So, but I think when they're channeling, let's continue on here. Now gains 25% increased duration per stage, from plus 0.4 seconds to base duration stage. So is that unchanged? Is that essentially what that means? What is that? You get 10 stages. It's about like, well, that's 4 seconds for base damage. So 25%, that's 250, which is actually a buff, right? Because that would be 3.6, and then half of that would be 4.2. So a 0.2 seconds increase overall. I guess increased duration though doesn't have as much effect. So I wonder how much time you have with increased duration. I wonder if that's a nerf. Now has 100% more projectile frequency while channeling. Okay, so it just goes back to the normal if you're sitting there channeling. I mean, I guess you're gonna channel when you're fighting a rare, and it does a little bit of damage. Clear is definitely going to go down pretty big. You're going to have a lot of attack speed on that, or cast speed on that. Yeah, I'll have to see how it feels. I might hop on my old character and just, yeah, but overall really didn't change for the single target or the damage. As long as you're channeling, you do the same damage per second that you used to, essentially. Definitely going to be good for anybody who used the cast while channeling Ice Spear build. So looks good there. Let's see, Ancestral War Chief. This is the Vol skills. So Vol Ancestral War Chief, attack speed multiplier. Okay, so that's the same essentially. Vol Cyclone now has 10 to 15 physical damage to attacks at level 1, up to 56 to 85 at level 20. Now it has an attack speed multiplier of 400%. Woo, yeah. I am definitely curious to use that in something. Really fighting between Cyclone and Flicker Strike here. This is gonna be interesting trying to figure out which one to play. Vol Double Strike now has a base damage. Let's see, it went down 28% from 33 and 33 from 40. But now has a 20% chance to cause bleeding. So kind of a little bit of a nerf, but I mean it's already a strong skill. Kind of expecting a nerf to come to it anyway. Vol Earthquake, now you get the added damage 169 to 254 at 20, and gains damage per quality, 1% quality. It's just flat increased damage rather than increased physical. Glacial Hammer Vol skill is converts 60%, same thing. Has the same base cold damage. Now has 100% increase effective chill, up to 29% at 20, and freezes enemies as if it were dealing 500% more damage every strike too with that. That's pretty nice. Vol Ground Slam, 1% increased area effect per 2 quality, and the same added damage. Vol Immortal Call, now instant. It can still no longer be obtained from drops or corruptions, and will receive a full rework in the future. That's funny. Vol Lightning Strike, looks like the same added damage, and projectile speed same quality. Cool. Vol Molten Shell has a base duration of 9 seconds, 60% 60 additional armor, up to 1030 at Gem 20 from 943. Now grants a buff, can take damage equal to 60% of your armor. Now causes, or now creates a buff, sorry. Now causes 80% of damage from hits to be taken from the buff before your life and energy shield. Now reflects a portion of the damage taken from the buff as fire. So same thing, now reflects 100% of the damage, and it's at 20, 1050. Now has a 4-second cooldown. Shares the cooldown with other guard skills. Vol Reeve looks like it goes 250% attack speed multiplier rather than 150% more. Stages incrementally after a short period of time is how it loses its stages. Cool. Support gem reworks. Melee splash. Now supports strikes. Now creates a melee splash for each enemy hit. So this is going to be huge. I'm curious to see how this works for something like Infernal Blow. Can you stack, like if you hit 4 enemies and stuff's close enough, will one enemy essentially have 4 stacks of Infernal Blow? I definitely want to test that out. If so, I might do an Infernal Blow this league. It looks pretty cool. Multi-Strike now grants 35% more attack speed from 75. Okay, so that is just under half, or just over half in the case of, no, it's still under half. They said just over half. This is just under half, from 94% more down to 44% more at 20. Now causes the first repeat of the supporter skill to deal 40% more. Okay, that's kind of cool. 50% more at 20. The second repeat, 80% more, 99% more at level 20. And again, you can cancel in between those, so that makes sense. There's got to be a reason that you want to keep repeating, and that's pretty good. I like it. That's pretty cool. Support gem balance. Fortify skill. Let's see what we got here. 50% increased fortify duration. That's cool. Up to 33% at 20 instead of 25 at all levels. Supporting skills now deal 20% more. Come on, give me that 30 that I was asking. 35 or 34% more at 20. Yes. Okay, cool. So that's what I was hoping would be 30% more at least. So I probably will be using this on everything I've got. Unless I feel like it's easier to use on something else. This is going to be probably recommended to use this on pretty much any melee skill, just because it's going to be easy to get and it does enough damage that it should feel good. And that also is a 30% more to bleeds and poisons. So yeah, my Viper Strike with Fortify now on it seems legit. Infused channeling support. Let's see. No longer implicitly provides a reduction to physical damage taken, and will only provide such reduction while channeling a skill with a physical gem tag. That is a bummer. So let's see. Lesser poison support. Level 1 is unchanged. Level 20 though is 94 to 141. That's pretty nice actually. Mirage Archer support. No longer causes skills it used to vanish at the end of its duration. That's kind of cool. That's quality of life there. Poison support. Unchanged at level 1 and gains 28% more poison damage at level 20. That's up from 19%. Ruthless support now causes ruthless blows with support to skill to deal 75% more damage at 1, which is unchanged, and 132 at 20, which is actually an increase from 113. That's nice. And that more damage with bleed is the equivalent there as well. So that's pretty legit. Again, bleed build's looking pretty good. Lacerate. Man, lacerate bleed. I am definitely going to look toward that at some point. I think that'll beat Lacerate Sunder, or Bleed Sunder. So, Summon Phantasm on kill support, renamed to Summon Phantasm support. Cool. Now, passive tree balance. Here we go. Let's get into that. So, one big section out of the way. Let's go to the next one. List below are new additions and removals. I'm kind of scared at a couple of these. So, they added Wicked Ward. A new keystone behind Blood Magic, Mortal Conviction, which I guess is just the change of the name of it. I thought there was already the... Oh, a new keystone behind Blood Magic. Ooh. Did they just change the notable? Is that what they did? I mean, we'll have to see, but that would be weird if they added a new, like, node that connects to those. That'd be kind of cool. But anyway, I think it's just they changed the notable to a keystone, and just that was it. Overcharge and the preceding small passive has been moved from behind conduit to next to it. Okay. Decay ward and the preceding small passives moved behind necromantic aegis. Okay, so this is the stuff behind the is moved across from it. Okay, so this is just giving access to certain things that you could want without having to take something that could cause you to change your build or have a negative. Okay, I can deal. Inspiration notable and preceding small passes behind mind over matter have been moved. Okay, so they've just been moved. And there's, okay, that's kind of cool. Removed hybrid weapon passives and notables such as deadly, dilettant, and or which grant bonuses to multiple individual weapon types. Huh. Wonder if they've added or what they've added. Oh, okay. There's a lot here. Change critical strike multiplier passives near the scion to accuracy. That was a rip to unnatural instinct. Reduce the amount of energy shield granted by early witch passives. Now, didn't they add something for flat energy shield? And I guess it's probably one of these, and I guess we'll just have to find out what these are. I might take a few guesses, I guess, for fun. Okay, so let's see. They added Ribcage Crusher, Swift Venoms, Gladiator's Perseverance, Brinkmanship, Fleet Foot, Silent Steps, Freedom of Movement, Inexorable, Adamant, Dismembering, Steadfast, Unpredictable Offensive, Charging Offensive, Swift Skewering, Forceful Skewering, Magmatic Strikes, Dazzling Strikes, Disciple of the Slaughter, Disciple of the Unyielding, Longshot, Utmost Swiftness, Utmost Might, Utmost Intellect, Harvester of Foes, Feller of Foes, Pain Forger, Bludgeon Blitz. Some of these just sound like moves you can hear in an anime or something. Gosh. Blacksmith's Clout, Spine Cruncher, Honed Edge. Oh, whoops, that's two different ones. Spine Crusher, Honed Edge, Blade Dancer, Farsight, Claws of the Hawk, Backstabbing, Stabbing Thirst, Disintegration, Titanic Impact, Kinetic Impacts. Oh, Titanic Impacts. Aggressive Bastion, Command of the Elements, Discus Thrower. What? Oh, Discus Thrower. Okay, Discus Thrower. Ophidian Aim, Steelwood Stance, One with the River, Sanctum of Thought, and finally, Hunter's Gambit. Okay, well that was fun. Okay, Ascendancy Balance. Our main focus during the patch is primarily mainly Ascendancies, Marauder and Duelist. Okay, here we go. We've seen a lot of these, so I won't go over that. I did have a video kind of looking at each one individually. Pretty much I'm just going to be checking quickly whether or not they've actually changed anything. They just give the 10% more on kill, so that's technically a buff because now you get 20% more on unique. The only thing I wish is that it also did rare monsters since they are buffing them. That's pretty much the only thing there. Bane of Legends no longer grants Onslaught, but now that's buffed because now it's you can stack it with Onslaught because it's still the same buff essentially. Just now you can yeah, double down, so 40% attack speed and 40% movement if you have it on if you have onslaught as well. Let's see. Cool. They just talked about the small stuff. Crit. Now you get 8% base crit. I'm hoping if you have more than 8% base crit on a weapon, you can still take this node. It looks like a fun node to take. If that is a problem, then I guess I'm left with 4 choices instead of 6 on my Slayer build that I want to make. Let's see. Small passive leading to Overwhelm. Cool. Brutal Fervor no longer grants 100% increased total recovery per second. That's what I thought. They did get rid of it. It now grants a bunch of damage stuff and 6% reduced damage taken while leeching. So pretty cool there. They moved the stun back to the while leeching thing. That's one reason why I want to take that, because I don't want to accidentally get stunned. Yeah, I might just take that actually. But anyway, gives me the overleech and the stun immunity and bleed immunity, which is really nice that I don't have to deal with that. And I'll be overkilling a lot of stuff probably. So Gladiator, they added the Stance Dance stuff, which is just challenge charges, so you get more attack speed and more movement speed per charge. Essentially Tailwind, but not Tailwind. So if you decide to run with a Deadeye, then yeah, double down on that for the Gladiator. Seems pretty legit. Champion. Inspiration now causes banners you create to gain 40% of the stages you play of your placed banner. Okay, instead of 20, you and your allies affected by the placed banner now regenerate 0.1% of your maximum life per second for each stage. So that's an increase. They doubled that. First to strike, last to fall now causes you to recover 25% of maximum life when you gain adrenaline. Whoa, that's nice. That's really nice. So now if you take like a couple of savage hits, then that would just pop off. That's kind of cool. Unstoppable Hero now grants 30% increased attack damage rather than melee with Fortify. Master of Metal now causes you and nearby allies to deal 6 to 10 added physical damage for each impale on the enemy. That's a bit of a buff. It's pretty nice actually. It's what, like a 40% increase or something like that. Small passive leading to last to fall, first to strike, last to fall, Unstoppable Hero, and Fortitude now grant 10% increased attack damage. Previously was melee, so that's kind of cool. Juggernaut. Actually, that means you can get bonuses to range stuff. Range champion is becoming more of a thing. I like it. Juggernaut Unyielding now grants 8% increased damage per endurance charge. That's actually an increase. And 6% increased area of effect. Oh, that was a buff. I was expecting that to be a slight nerf from the sound of it. Okay, by the way, on Champion 2, if you do a bow, now with the Impel stuff, I don't know if it's straight melee. Have to look at it again. But if that support is not just straight melee, then yeah. You could use that with Champion and do bow Champion Impel stuff. That's pretty cool. Yeah, pretty nice. Okay, Berserker. We've already seen these changes. I talked about what they really removed in that. Looks like all of it's still the same deal. Again, crazy attack speed coming from the Berserker. This is going to be insane. But also, now that we know the supports that go with Rage, it's pretty nice. Chieftain, we saw what changed here. The only one I want to look at is the physical damage. Let's see. Whoops. Okay, well I messed up there. Let's bring it back down. So we've got, here we go, Chieftain. I'll just have to look here. Added Chieftain node, fire resist. Ah, right here, this is it. 10% of physical damage from hits. Okay, so that does stay specifically from hits. Occultist, wicked word removed. Vile Bastion no longer requires an ascendancy, any ascendancy notable. It now grants 1% energy shield regeneration per second for each enemy you or your minions have killed. No longer grants 150 to maximum energy shield from a maximum of 30%. Huh. That's interesting. What does that mean? No longer requires any ascendancy notables. Each of the small passives on the occultist ascendancy tree now grant 6% increased energy shield from 8. So they're nerfing energy shield there. Huh. That feels pretty bad, man. Occultist actually got wrecked. That is, oof, that big rip. Let's see if the Elementalist is just as bad. I was expecting 10%, but it looks like it's 15% from 20. That's really not that bad, actually. And you no longer have proliferation, so you're going to have to get proliferation from something. Pretty big rip there, especially on Ignite builds. It was always nice that your shock proliferated as well. Chill proliferating was always good because you could always count on hypothermia in that case. Again, because you can always chill if you hit, then that's fine. So not the biggest rip with the elements, it's just like the occultist, but still a bit of a nerf. Guardian, each of the small passives on the Guardian Ascendancy tree now grant 5% increased energy shield from 6. Trickster, here we go, 2 seconds from 1 second, so it takes twice as long, but I think everything's still the same here. What's this? 10% chance to dodge hits from spell damage, while you have energy shield from 20% and 6% increased attack and cast speed per Ghost Shroud. Ooh, so that's even a bigger nerf. Ouch. Yeah, that's, ooh. So we might be going back to what we used to do in a lot of build cases. And each of the smaller Trickster Ascendancy tree now grant 5% increased energy shield from 8 and 14 increased evasion from 8. So cool. It's really cool that they actually upped the evasion rating. That's nice. Deadeye, Fast and Deadly, now grants 50% more accuracy instead of doubling. Okay, cool. Ascendant. Ascendant's Berserker now grants Rage on hit. Ooh, that's pretty nice. It also grants 50% more damage. Okay, from 10. The Chieftain now has a 20% chance to apply. Okay, so that's a buff, and has 40% increased fire damage. That's nice. Champion now has 20% chance to impale with attacks, and the Ascendant Gladiator now has, now no longer, rather, grants chance to cause bleeding, and instead has 50% chance to block, does not require another source of block, and 10% chance to blind on hit with attacks. Does not require that the enemy be blinded. It also deals 25% more damage with bleeds from 15. So maybe Impel Ascended? Something like that? Who knows? Maybe you could do Impel Rear Guard. What is that? Gladiator. So item balancing. Many low-level melee weapon base types have had their base attack speed raised up and their damage lowered to compensate. The following stabs can no longer roll spell base. Okay, so I thought they were adding new ones, but I guess they just maybe there's a couple of new ones in here, but so essentially, again, I won't read all the staff names, but you've got looks like all the ones that would have attack-based unique counterpart is still there. The Judgment Staff, for instance. The above staves will be swapped to a new War Staff weapon class. The following daggers now no longer roll spell-based mods, and again, so far from what I can see, a lot of the ones that would have attack stuff. So that's pretty cool. which I guess they really didn't change any. It's just the mods. Oh no, and their damage decreased to compensate. Looks like. Okay, so that's what they did. So it looks like they did the same on daggers too. Alright, looks pretty good. And then they have rune daggers, so they have same thing as war staff and rune daggers. And we got Orb of Horizons can now drop. That is really nice. And such as Emperor's Luck. That'd be cool. Adjusted the drop rates of certain items, which there were many hunters. Dense fossils can no longer craft increased armor evasion rating or energy shield suffix modifiers, and now has new mods it can craft on the other slots. The dense fossil modifier, 15% increased energy shield from body armor, was incorrectly acting multiplicatively with other sources of increased energy shield. This has now been fixed. So we probably won't see crazy energy shield like we were, but I mean energy shield shouldn't be by any means in a bad place with the changes they've done to buff it. Divine Vessel is now a 1x1 item rather than a 1x2. Okay, so it's just this little, okay, cool. Piranda Scarabs can now cause Kadiro to appear. Okay, that's good. Because I know that was a big deal from last league, which was like, where do we get them? Okay. Have a 60% chance for the polished, and gilded is a guaranteed. That's really nice. Which this time we do have Pirandus on the map device, so a friend of mine spoiled me on that one. I hope we have Harbinger and a couple of things like that. But let's see here. Values of life, energy shield, mana, modifiers, and abyss jewels. Okay, those have been reduced. We already know that. Top roll modifier is now 40 rather than 50. 40 is still good. I normally would try to go for 30 anyway. So this shouldn't affect any of my builds for the most part. So I'm good with that. Added damage of jewels by about 30% on the top end, scaling down to lower. That's not too bad. I guess lightning jewels are going to fill it a whole lot worse than anything. All added damage modifiers on two-handed weapons are now 160% in the values of their one-handed counterparts. This takes the new higher values at the top end into account. Even they are 160% of their one-handed versions. That is pretty juicy. Two-handed bleeds? Maybe? That'd be kind of cool. Just, I mean, well, two-handed in general. So does that mean the unique weapons will go up as well for their two-handed? Because I plan on doing two-handed type build for my Slayer, so I want to get it. Oh, then that two-handed life. So if that's going up, that is legit. Added new top-tier modifiers for added fire, added cold, and added lightning. These are available from items with an eye level of 82 or greater. That's pretty nice. Let's see, the highest level though is rare, approximately as difficult to get 3 tier 1 elemental damage rolls as the 3 tier 1 physical damage rolls. Okay. Wait. Okay, yeah, that's what it says. Okay, cool. Got it. Let's see, weapon specific increased physical damage modifiers on jewels now apply to all damage types. That's pretty nice. Now you can use them instead of just abyss jewels. That's pretty cool. Reduce the amount of energy shield granted by synthesis implicits on body armors, shields, helmets, gloves, and boots. This won't affect you unless you decided to use a blessed orb, in which case it definitely will affect you. The hybrid increased physical damage and accuracy modifiers now grant more accuracy. Ooh. That's kind of cool. Existing items with these modifiers can now be updated with the Divine Orb. The pure accuracy modifiers now grant more accuracy than previously, and there are a few tiers existing items with these modifiers can be updated with a Divine Orb. So I'm wondering if like Oscarm and a few things like that are actually up enough. The Immortal Call enchantment, which previously granted a chance to not consume endurance charges, now grants increased Immortal Call duration per endurance charge. Okay, unique item balance. Let's see if there's any ones that I'm going to be using. Following items no longer drop outside of Legion. Okay, so this is going to be the outlined below. The items are Wrathpith, Pledge of Hands, Rebuke of the Vol, Calm's Primacy. Ooh. I wonder what they're changing to that. Lavianga's Wisdom. Moroi Urki. Oh my. Yes. Moroi Urki's coming back, boys. Here we go. I believe. And Calm's Primacy's coming back. Oh my gosh, we're going back to the beginning here with some of these items. Please, I really hope. I guess if they're going to outline them, then yeah, I want to see the changes. Just saying, I want to see them now. Okay, where was I? Asenath's Gentle Touch, Darkscorn, Aldi, however you say that, Dahi, Aldi. Anyway, Aldi. Oh my gosh, it's Aldi. Anyway, Vol's Protector, the Sorrow of the Divine, Divinarius. Ooh, maybe that's good again. Honor Home, which that Honor Home didn't really change too much. Lionized Paws, and Maligaro's Virtuosity. Ooh. Okay. Bringing some of the old items back, that's what I'm talking about. Overwhelming Odds no longer grants increased area of effect for Cleave based on the number of enemies, and now grants +1 to Cleave radius for each enemy nearby, up to +10. Okay, I was going to say, there's got to be a limit here, surely. So you can get +10, that's pretty cool. Montragle's Grasp now clearly states how damage dealt by exploding zombies is calculated. Note that this does not change the functionality. Okay, cool. Hiri's Truth now causes Precision to have 50% less mana reservation. Affects all versions of the item. Okay, that's pretty legit. Death's Hand now has added physical damage. Existing versions can be updated using a Divine Orb. Now grants Unholy Might for 4 seconds on a critical strike, up from 2. This affects all versions. Now, is that damage going to actually be enough to bring it into the end game? Because that would be cool to actually use that again. But now that you have to either use it with a shield or dual wield and use it, I mean, it's going to have to... We'll see if that's enough. I forget what it has base for like increase. But Impulsa now has a 15 to 20% increased shock effect. So I think that would go up to what? 40% or something like that? So that's a pretty big nerf. Prismatic Eclipse. So again, another sword. They're giving it physical damage. Again, we'll have to see the full increases to see what the increase is there. But hopefully you can use those dual wielding or in combination with something. Rigwald's Charge now has 300 to 350 accuracy rating. Existing version can be Divine. Looks like every one of these that I read has the same existing can be Divined. The Peregrine has 50 or 500 accuracy rating. That's pretty legit. Existing version, so that'll be good for leveling. Infractum, that's the bow. 350 to 400 accuracy rating. Crown of Eyes is 300 to 350. Wide Swing, 120 to 150 accuracy. Dream Feather is 280 to 300. Zaro's Dilemma, 300 to 400 accuracy. Wasp Nest is 330 to 350 accuracy. So, all looks like increased accuracy from what I can remember. Malachi Simula. Newly dropped versions will also have Mortal Conviction. Okay. It's pretty cool. So that's the face thing, the helmet. Will that also, when you fate that, does it also do the same thing? I'm gonna guess so. Tukohama's Fortress. Newly dropped versions will have the Mortal Conviction. Okay, that's pretty cool. That means you could use that and get the aura. One aura. So that's pretty legit. Apep's Rage now adds, I'm guessing that's increased chaos damage to spells. Existing versions can be changed with the Divine. New versions also cause poison you inflict to deal damage 20% faster. Ooh, we got poison spells here from that. If you dual wield those, I mean it's a lot of mana cost, but yeah, that'd be pretty legit. I mean, you could use Bladefall. That might bring Bladefall back. That'd be kind of cool to see that come back. Brightbeak now has 45% increased attack speed to account for base type changes. Okay. You know, in case it uses your mana too quickly. That's funny. Dreadbeak now has 83 to 91 and 123 to 130 physical damage to account for the base type change. Okay, the next two are base type changes. Hegemony's Era, which was what I was hoping for. That goes up for the base type change. And Disintegrator now has 250 to 280 to account for the base type change. I was kind of hoping to see stuff like Congors and everything like that. And they just changed the Pillar of a Cage God is now the Iron Staff base type. So I'm hoping that's more damage, because I actually kind of like that build. If it is enough, I might try to bring out my Pillar of the Cage God, plug and play whatever skill you want build, and hopefully that works. That'd be pretty legit. Okay, changes to Legion themed uniques that affect existing items. Here we go. Pledge of Hands. They got the Greater Spell Echo. We've already seen that. So that'll be cool. Rebuke of the Vol. More physical damage. 46 to 98 to 101 to 140. Same number fire damage. Same cold damage. And 210, 1 to 210 to 250 added lightning damage. And 49 to 98 and 101 to 140 chaos damage. Wow. I can't believe it, but I think that sword's actually good now. That seems pretty legit. And then if you do full like conversion, that could actually be a pretty nice build. Trickster Cyclone incoming? Maybe? I don't know. Something else, maybe another skill, but Trickster Cyclone is the first thing that comes to mind. Or, oh, Trickster Blade Flurry, there you go. That's legit. Lavianga's Wisdom. 200% increased physical damage. 160 to 200% increased physical damage. Plus 70 to max life. Plus 70 to max mana. 15 to 25% increased area effect. And 10 to 20% increased area damage. Existing versions can be updated with a Divine. Moroi Urki, come on, here we go. Prevented a mod from displaying, though it was always there. The mod grants minus 100 accuracy rating. Note that this is not functional change, and that reduced accuracy has always been there. Now has 230 to 260 increased damage. 30 to 40 added physical damage. And now supports socketed gems with level 15 pulverized support. Okay, that's pretty cool. So does it have the other base stats? I'm guessing so. So you still move a bit slower or whatever. Okay. If that damage, we'll have to see the final damage. I'll probably look at that. But that's definitely something that's gonna interest me in trying or looking at least. Maybe doing an earthquake around that, or maybe going back to Infernal Blow from back in the day. The Asenath's Gentle Touch, 60 to 80 to maximum life, 60 to 80 maximum mana. Existing versions can be divine. Darkscorn has 20% increased attack speed, 15 to 20, 25 to 30 added physical damage. Existing versions can be divine. Vol's Protector, a lot of armor, energy shield, looked pretty good. And that was, okay, I guess that's it. I thought that it had something else. Maybe it was just that. Sorrow of the Divine now causes life recovery from Flask to also apply to Energy Shield. Okay, yeah, I remember seeing that. Divinarius now grants life, 30 life on kill, and 10 mana on kill. Okay, not too much. And again, okay, Honor Home, yeah. So I guess a couple of these are just pretty meh. But some of them, it's like they're bringing it back. I do not see Calm's Primacy in there though, and I don't think I missed it. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So I guess not all of them are in here, but yeah, pretty exciting. I guess I'd have to go back through and see which ones they didn't mention, but yeah, pretty hyped. It'd be kind of cool to see Calm's Primacy and Moroi Urki used again for in-game items. That's pretty legit. Okay, world changes. Let's see. Okay, just the... You can no longer hear a crying woman in Act 7 at the crossroads. Cool. Monster changes. Magic monsters now have 50% more life at level 1. Woo! And 75% more at level 68 and above. Ooh, man. Magic packs are scary again. We've brought it back. The game is getting harder. And, ooh, rare monsters now grant 50% more experience. That's legit. Okay, I can deal with that. Tormented spirits are now more likely to appear near a rare or unique monster than not. Ooh, that gets really scary. That's, whew, interesting. I wonder if we're going to see a lot more ghosted bosses. Yeah, that's gonna be pretty big if that's the case. Rogue Exiles no longer sound identical to their player exile counterparts. Yeah, I always thought I was dying by accident sometimes. I'd be like, oh no. Monsters which can block, okay. Spells now say so beneath their nameplates. Such monsters do not block all the damage though. Okay, cool. Swap Navali's Seek Prophecy and view your prophecy's talk option to prevent misclicking. Okay, that's cool. Incursion changes now requires 12 separate incursions to enter the Temple of Atsuatl in the present, up from 11. This gives you an extra attempt to upgrade or change a room before you enter the temple. Betrayal changes. Betrayal fortification encounters are now prioritized over shrines during level creation. Okay. You'll encounter a new monster type in some fortification encounters. Interesting. Strongbox changes. I mean, I guess it just registered, but well, I guess shrines were preventing them? That's awkward. Okay, anyway. Strongbox changes. The Maelstrom Call unique Strongbox now also drops diff cards. To be honest, I don't know which one that is. Oh, that gives Shaper and Elder items. As well as cards of that certain stack size. Oh, okay, that's the stack size div card thing. Okay, that's cool. I guess they didn't before. Let's see. Azurite Mine and Sulfite change. Improve the way delve map layouts are generated, allowing a longer delve when necessary. The Ancient Wraith and Ancient Suffering monsters can now be desecrated while in the appropriate delve area. Prophecy changes. Items that drop exclusively from prophecy generated monsters can now drop from all prophecy generated monsters rather than a small subset. That's cool. Map changes. The Atlas of World has been shuffled. Added 3 new tormented spirits found via sextants. You can now unlock a special 5th slot in the map device. That's really cool. 2 new shrines found via sextants. You can no longer have to pay Vol orbs equal to the cost of Chaos orbs to apply Zana's crafting mods to corrupted maps. What? That is awesome. That is, yes, please. Map bosses at lower map tiers have slightly more life, tapering to no difference at map tier 15. Okay. I do like it at lower, but I mean tier 15, still there's not that much life anyway, so I really wish they would up that and give us more loot or something. Make bosses hard. I want core, the old core back. Make it scary. Shaper strongholds now always contain additional monsters and anomalies, as well as a bonus effect at random. Okay, Shaper influence maps now always contain additional monsters. That's good. Monster packs in Shaper influence maps with additional anomalies have a 20% chance to spawn with an anomaly, down from 50. Okay. And they now spawn a pack of monsters on death. Ooh, that's kind of interesting. Aegis of the Void from Shaper influence maps are now spawn monsters on death, which grants items and experience when slain. That's nice. White and yellow tier Shaper influence maps can no longer spawn Shaper clones which attack you. Red tier Shaper influence maps now have a 25% chance for the Shaper clone. Okay, cool. It's kind of annoying when that's all that happens. White and yellow tier Elder maps. Okay, now Elder influence always contain additional monsters. White and yellow Elder influence maps can no longer spawn Elder Slam tentacles. Red tier can, awesome at 25% chance. The entirety of Coward's Trial has been redone. If you are lucky enough to get one, make sure you use it. It's going to be nice. The boss fight of the Graveyard map has been completely reworked. That'll be cool. I'm guessing all the boss fights have been reworked that have their corresponding. Maybe some are different, but from Acts 1 to 3. Improved Belfry and Lava Lake fights. Extra monsters are now spawned during the fight, which grant items and experience when slain. Both of the fights should feel significantly more rewarding for the time invested. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Barrow's map boss fight has been improved. The Beast of the Pits is now extra vulnerable to damage after colliding with a wall. Oh, that's pretty cool. The boss fight in the Gardens map has been completely reworked. Also spawn during phase transitions will grant items and experience. That is awesome that they're doing this. They need to keep doing it. Keep going. Same thing with the Sunken City. Monster spawn during the Basilica boss fight phase transition will also grant items and experience. That is awesome. Monsters Terrace boss fight, they grant XP. They also take reduced damage for a brief period after spawning. Okay. Improve the layout of the arena map. Monster spawn behavior has been adjusted to take less time to activate all the statues and hounds. Enlarged the area around summit map spawn locations where monsters shouldn't be able to spawn. Cool. Yes, looks good. Okay. Zonomods, come on, Harbinger. Fortune Favors Brave, same stuff here. Elder Tier, Abyss. Oh, so Abyss is going to be real easy to get. That's cool. Anarchy, Domination, Bloodlines. So, no Nemesis. No Harbinger. That's a bummer. But we get Parandus Beyond. And we get Abyss pretty cheap. And Bloodlines now is 3. Kind of bummer that we're not going to be seeing the Harbinger stuff, though. I mean, I guess eventually you could get it, but I don't feel like we're going to be seeing a lot of the Harbinger items this league, if much at all. Let's see. User interface improvements. You can now disable the help panel pop-ups. Please note that once disabled, you cannot re-enable them for that character, but you can still use the help panel as normal. You'll now also experience fewer help panel pop-ups in general. You can now hover over the Atlas objectives on your Atlas to see what they mean. The character panel now shows how likely your attacks are to hit monsters. Okay, that's cool. Varying evasiveness. Quest rewards. Added a new set of quest rewards for completing breaking some eggs. Rewards for the duelist. Okay, you're getting the perforate. Perforate becomes available at Nessa for everybody else to buy. Blood and sand. Blood and sand. Okay, I'm assuming we're well, here. Okay, blood and sand. Breaking some eggs. So Act 1. Precision. Cage brute. Chain hook. Cadence. Added flesh and stone. Intruders in black. Man, bummer when you can't remember all the names of all the quests. Sharp and cruel, I know that's in Act 2, so I'm guessing that's in Act 2. Sharp and cruel for Shockwave. Close combat, sharp and cruel. Lost in love, I think that's in Act 3, Pride. Blade Storm, Sever the Right Hand, I think that's Piety. Or no, that's Gravicius. Pulverize, Fixture of Fate, I think that's Piety. Or maybe, since it's a port, that might actually be going to the library, actually. So, Act 3 stuff, Impale, Fixture of Fate, and then Berserk is Breaking the Seal. So, yeah. PvP changes, that's still a thing. No. Kind of would be cool if they actually did some cool PvP stuff again. But I feel like that would be like a whole league that they would almost have to focus on just to get that to be an actual competitive thing again. But Fireball now deals 30% less damage against players. Previously dealt 5% more. Ouch. And the Spectral Spiders, summoned by the Fang, now deal 70% less. Ouch. Which probably was needed. A bunch of bug fixes. And they have recently added here Shock Nova. I'll go to the recently added because it's Glacial Hammer and stuff. And what are they doing to my Glacial Hammer? Now it has 155 damage effectiveness at gym level 1 from 140 up to 200 at gym level 20. I'll check that again, and it goes up to 4. Every third successive strike now freezes enemies as if it were dealing 200 up to 390%. Previously stated it was 500 at all levels. Oh, okay. I think that's what I read earlier. So I think that's already been shown up there. Yes. That okay, cool. So that's already shown up there, but that's just the recently added. Cool. Let's see. Fix the bug where physical damage would not bypass energy shield if that energy shield was protecting mana. Fix the bug where you could become trapped after defeating the terrorist map boss. Whoops. Tukahama spawning is totems. Fix the bug. Crafting mods trigger a socketed spell. Wasn't triggering the skill. Bug when viewed with the detailed mod description. Some mods were given a worse tier than others in the same family. Bug where Frozen Trail unique jewel would cause Frostbolt. Fix the bug were dropped generated as magic and rare and were on the shaped or elder map base type. Did not take this into account. The new map tier when rolling mods. Okay. Let's see. Nothing too crazy or interesting here. Summon Phantasm would cause non-minion skills to be counted as minion skills. Okay, well, I guess that's not a thing anymore. That's actually kind of interesting. Null's Inclination trigger socketed minion skills on kill would work in that case. Tectonic Slam skill. Wait, fix the bug where Creation's Tectonic Slam skill got gigantic. Essence Drain, Soul Rend, and Bane and Contagion were all bypassing PvP scaling. Whoops. Juggernaut and your endurance charges expired. Ward Banner, okay. Adrenaline buff. What? Oh, it would end early. Wow, that's kind of rip. That's weird. Would change restriction on when socketed item in an item that granted additional levels to the gym. Oh, with cast and damage taken. Oh, that's pretty rip. Bug where map bosses had lost an additional chance to drop map adjacent to the one you were in currently. Whoops, that's rip. Increased effect of non-damage elements on enemies. Veiled modifier could appear on rings when dropped, but not when crafted. It now correctly appears on amulets rather than rings when dropped. Cool. Fixed a delve exploit. Well, yeah. I guess they're not going to tell the exploit now. I guess they'll probably tell that when it comes out. So, again, you'll probably have to check back for anything recently added in the next couple of days. But overall, it looks pretty good. Probably Cyclone or Flicker Strike is going to be my first skill, I think. So, if you're watching this on YouTube, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that. Peace.